Ladies and gentlemen, episode 21 of Three Brothers Talking.
Our podcast is drinking age now.
Our podcast is legal drinking age.
We're adults.
We've made it.
We finally
adults
arrived.
now.
Some would say we're adulting in the podcast game.
Oh,
We're not a, what's it called? A novice.
you know what
When
term?
do we become experts?
I think now.
Oh, cool. We
yeah,
did
I
it.
think we're experts now.
I was gonna give
10,000
I was gonna
hours.
give us till 25.
Isn't
but
it 10,000 hours is the thing?
We
but
practice a lot that you don't hear. Like, I think that we've done a lot of practice talking.
Absolutely. We've been talking for at least 10,000 hours of our
To be fair,
lifetime.
we've been talking for about an hour before this started.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so we're racking up the points here. But we are, I don't like the term adulting. It's like this pop culture thing, but that is what we're talking about today on the podcast.
a form of adulting?
A form of it. I feel like most people use the word adulting when they're just talking about like running errands.
Being
Yeah.
responsible.
And I'm just like, that's just not, that's a low bar.
That's life,
for being
Yeah.
an
life
adult.
when you're on your own.
Yeah, like, oh, I had to pay my bills this month. Adulting.
Hashtag adulting.
That's just being a
It's
person.
like hashtag living.
Hashtag
Went to work
living.
this morning, put on pants.
Exactly. No.
They may be clean.
No, hashtag adulting is working so that you can afford to pay all those the Disney Plus bills and the Netflix bills and the Hulu bills, all the bills that we've got going on
Well,
these days.
Disney Plus is a necessary expense for any household.
It's true.
So.
Especially if you have kids.
Yeah.
Not a sponsor, but
Not yeah.
definitely not a
In
sponsor.
case anyone was wondering,
Yeah.
Disney did not reach out to our podcast.
Maybe not to
We
you
told
guys,
them no,
but
actually.
we didn't want that money.
Yeah, they were desperate.
Didn't you sign that contract?
No, man.
Oh man, I'm raking the
I didn't
dough,
want to.
though.
I didn't want to compromise our podcast.
We're not trying to
values.
sell out.
Oh, I didn't care that much about our values, I guess.
No, I mean whatever paycheck Disney would show up with probably would be enough to compromise our values a little bit. But
Let's just see what happens. Disney Plus, you're out there.
Yeah, I mean they are out there. Just
I mean,
saying.
they're
I'd like to
literally
talk.
everywhere.
They're literally everywhere.
Our managers.
And I
would love
wouldn't
to
be
talk to you.
surprised if even before this goes to the internet, they're already hearing us right now.
Probably.
They're wired into our phones. They can hear us already.
I mean,
It's not us
honestly,
out there.
yeah, Kaylee already got us signed up. So honestly, I'm probably already on the grid. Like they've got access to
mean,
everything at this point from our
you
end.
have-
I'm getting it through for Verizon, so they're probably listening through
Yeah,
my phone
Verizon,
right
yeah.
now.
Yep.
Disney, Mickey Mouse
You're
is probably on
in.
the other end, like talking or getting something worked
But
out.
Yeah.
I mean, what can you do when you want to watch all that content?
All that.
You can do what I
content.
do, which is just don't buy it.
David.
But I have honestly, and I know you guys both have it, but I have honestly no desire to get Disney Plus. That
Well-
could change maybe, but I personally just don't feel the appeal of it.
We'll see because we literally just initiated it prior to us recording this night, so I haven't
It was a
even
big- it was a big
I haven't
decision.
even gotten in and like watched anything. They're actually Kaylee's sister's in town with us
that's why.
tonight, so that they were all excited that like, oh, Andrew's leaving. We just get the TV and Disney Plus, and we're gonna
That's actually a faith decision
like
before I left.
and Face at home
Get a
watching
life,
hers
am I
probably.
right?
So
I mean, the
that's,
kid's asleep. She can do
that's the
whatever she wants.
situation. Yeah.
She's worked very hard. He's been grumpy. She's
Yeah.
been sick.
So they're getting to break it in, and I
She's
have
gonna have
not.
to listen to me
but-
talk.
I don't. So I don't. Now I don't know if this makes me a cynic or something, but I just don't. I just don't feel the appeal of like watching the old Disney movies with any regularity. Like, is that the
Yeah,
main
it's like a
appeal of Disney
nostalgia
Plus?
thing.
Is like watch The Lion King whenever you want? Because I don't think I ever want to watch The Lion King
Well,
again.
That's what you
Are
say
you
now.
kidding me?
I really don't think I do. Like, I watched it when I was.
I'd watch
They
it.
are having
8.
supposedly
I mean,
they're
I
gonna have
will
some
watch
good
it.
content as far as Marvel stuff goes. Oh, Endgame's on there right now.
Yeah.
Anything. But if I wanted to
With
watch
bonus
Endgame,
content.
if I wanted
And
to watch
other-
Endgame that bad, I would buy a copy or I would
Well,
rent it.
yeah.
Guys, in other big
But it's
news,
free right now
I
for me.
still have not seen Endgame.
Oh
Really?
my! You
Well,
have
you got
Disney
Disney
Plus now. Go
Plus.
home.
Yeah. That's honestly, I might stay up tonight and just watch it
You
once we
should.
wrap this up, and just because I'm way out of it.
I've been
Well-
really wanting to watch Lord of the Rings lately. Actually, while
Is
we're
that on there?
No, but I'm
I'd
just saying
be
because we're talking
surprised.
about watching
Random,
things.
but
They
okay.
own so many things. Like
They do.
So like I wouldn't be
Nuts.
surprised if something like that was on there.
Well, they have like I told you guys earlier in our pre-show prep that they have the old X-Men, Spider-Man stuff from like
That's
when we were
tempting.
kids.
That's
Oh,
tempting.
That
yeah.
actually is really good. I showed it to Faith. I'm like, they don't make cartoons like
But
this anymore.
Amazon Prime had Batman the Animated Series, and
They
I
still do.
watched it one time.
Oh, really?
And then I was
I
like, oh, the itch was scratched, and I just didn't watch it
I've
anymore.
watched it probably 3 or 4
It's gonna be
times now.
interesting to see what comes out, like, as so much content's gonna be on Disney Plus and
Yeah.
like all these other streaming, and obviously Prime I think is still gonna be there for a little bit because I think they're gonna be consolidating content too, probably. So it's
Yeah.
I can see it like in the near future being like, okay, you got your Prime Video and you got your Disney Plus, and that's like they've got everything between those two mediums. But
I mean, I
It'll be
kind of
interesting.
hope so. I'm sick of
Yeah.
just there's always more. The only thing I care about paying for is sports stuff for the most part.
yeah.
Everything else, I watch. This maybe I'll sound like such a millennial, but I watch sports and then I watch stuff that honestly comes through YouTube, and then I read, and that's pretty much my entertainment. Is
I watch
sports,
a lot of YouTube too.
sports, YouTube stuff, and reading, and that's pretty much
Yeah.
where I get all my entertainment.
Yeah, I could live without. Honestly, I could live without
Honestly,
Netflix.
it's
Yeah.
Haley and
But
the
we
Haley and the
enjoy-
kid like it though. So I mean,
Yeah.
obviously the kid shows are clutch when you have to appease a child, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
um,
little baby bum.
little
Oh,
baby
baby
bum
bum.
all day.
Gosh, I mean, okay, especially if Faith has drill. Like,
That's what
goodness.
it is.
Okay,
Well,
I need you to sit down and I need you to eat. And we're just gonna play a song while I clean a little bit.
so
It
I didn't
works.
tell you guys, but when we're recording this,
Probably
like
gonna get in
tomorrow
trouble.
all day, I am on Lincoln duty. So I have an entire Saturday where Kaylee's leaving me to go out with her friends to Cincinnati to dress shop for a wedding
she's getting
dress.
married again.
Yeah,
Congrats.
Kaylee's getting
Congrats,
remarried.
You know, they-
Kaylee's getting
They
remarried.
have dresses in Columbus.
They do.
Oh, but not these dresses.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Have you
nasty natty
heard
dresses.
about Cincinnati dresses?
Dude, they're
No,
world
please tell
renowned.
us.
World renowned.
The natty dresses.
They're
I'll
not
tell
known
ya.
for their football, so they might as well.
Be
Yeah, the Bengals are bad.
But
Very
yeah,
bad.
so
We're bad.
we'll see how
So are the
much.
Steelers.
I mean, I imagine
Bears.
The Bears.
to appease the child, there will be quite a lot of Disney Plus happening throughout the day tomorrow, and it might be put to good use.
Well,
So,
we are talking about parenting now, which is perfect. By the
segue.
way,
Good segue,
let's do an actual intro now that we're like 7 minutes into the program. So, I'm David. My voice is back, which is cool. I'm the first brother today.
I'm Jeremy. I am another brother.
we went out of order, but
We're out of order. I'm
Yeah.
the eldest and most, fun brother.
I'm Andrew, and I'm also a brother who's here.
There we go.
We're all
all
brothers.
We're all back together. We've been apart for a little while because I was gone. Jeremy and I were gone. Jeremy and I were gone on one trip together,
Yep.
and then I was gone for a solid week on a trip to St. Louis. Which I'll tell you something about St. Louis that's interesting, is they have the Arch and they have the Mississippi River, and that's the end of things that they have.
That's really it.
That's pretty much it.
Was it better than driving around Louisville? Because
I would much rather be in Louisville.
really, 'cause
Much rather
Louisville's
be in
really weird to
Louisville's
drive
pretty
around.
It was a
Cool.
weird city to
I
drive
like
through.
Louisville.
It was a weird city to drive through. We drove through Louisville for a few days, and we feel like we still didn't understand
Any part of it.
any
Yeah.
like part of the city.
Were you guys
but
around the campus or no?
No,
I mean, does Southern Baptist
we were
Theological
down there. Yeah,
Seminary
we
count
were
as
around
campus?
Southern Baptist Seminary, but
It was a church conference.
not
man.
sponsored. Not a sponsor.
If they wanted to sponsor us with
They
free
can.
seminary, that'd be great.
Contact us, Al Moeller. Give us a call. But anyway, so we've been apart for a little while, but we're coming back together here tonight because Jeremy and Andrew. Well, Andrew has officially passed 1 year of being a parent,
I've
He
kept the
survived
kid
a
a
year.
child, or I've kept a child
kept him a
alive
child.
for a year,
and
Single-handedly with your wife.
single-handedly.
that's right.
Yep.
And Jeremy, you are how many days away?
He'll Tuesday, the 19th.
Tuesday.
He'll
So
be a year old.
the day that this releases.
yeah,
the
release
day-
day.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
can officially say,
Happy
we
birthday.
survived a year when you hear this.
Yep.
Yeah, happy birthday, Micah.
Happy
Don't screw it up in the
birthday.
next 4 days.
Yeah.
I mean, Faith will be with me, so that's
So
highly
we'll be
unlikely.
good to go. So we're just going to talk. Really, Andrew and Jeremy are going to talk about.
You don't want to weigh in on this?
No, because the guiding question here is basically you've been married. You're not married for a year. You've been
that too.
You've had a kid for a year. What's it like? What has it taught you? What has it done? And so there's obviously lots of things to talk about, but I'll go ahead and start with the first question here. I actually wrote down a few questions
good.
beforehand. I even
sent us-
sent them at midnight last night. So
Yeah.
you guys have had
I
plenty of
read
time to
those
prep.
when I was up with my kid at 3 a.m.
You
There you
sent them
go.
to
And
us?
then I never looked at them again.
Yeah, you saw it.
Okay.
You were
Well,
supposed to see
read
it.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
Okay.
But
Was that in our text?
yeah, it
Okay.
was.
Yeah. I was
This
asleep.
pre-show prep.
First question. You guys can answer. You can pick which question you want to be first.
Can we pass?
Having a kid, no. Having a kid for a year taught me blank about marriage or taught me blank about myself as a man. Which one do you want to
I
answer
had already
first?
decided I'm not taking questions tonight. No.
Okay.
Okay.
No
then I guess I
passing.
take all the questions.
Jeremy's
It's
going to
gonna be
do
a
the
really
whole thing.
boring podcast.
No.
So take it away.
I mean, do you have an answer?
Can you wait?
So what is it? Basically, what's one thing it taught you about marriage, and what's one thing it taught you about just yourself, like being a person, who you are? You can answer either one of those, or those might be one combination, one answer together. And I'm gonna go get some more food while you guys start to talk.
Oh man, pressure's on. I guess I can go first. But
That'd
the
be great.
first thing it taught me about myself would be that I am still, yes, it's an ongoing challenge, that I still have a lot of selfish desire in my own heart, which only gets monopolized. Like the thing is, when you have a child, obviously marriage is one level into this, but when you have a child, your time is almost completely monopolized. At least for that like first year or two, when they are very dependent on either you or your spouse at all times. And so you realize very quickly that like even those small moments where like you can kind of get away from even your spouse, or like you have a moment to breathe or just do what you want to do in your life, like even those then go away. And it's a challenge that then becomes like just you realize very quickly that yes, it's ultimately for a better purpose of raising your child and being invested whenever you can in their life and their upbringing. But it's also a challenge for yourself that like, your time is there's another person weighing in on that time, and you realize like there's moments where I second guess myself of when maybe I'm on duty and things aren't going great or whatever, and you get those selfish desires that creep in that say like, well, wow, I'd really like to have a moment just to breathe or to myself. But yet even that, like, responsibility comes first and raising your child comes first. So I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that, Jeremy?
I have thoughts upon thoughts. Goodness. I think selfishness is always something that you see more and more, especially with time and energy. A few things that it made me realize, and just more so, even with Faith and all, when we got married, I realized it. But then the fact that coming home, you really do need to keep more energy than I used to. I used to expel a ton at work, too much at work, where the point of I got home, and even that I'm getting better at it, but still not great at it. I'd be completely dead, and just mentally, and I'd help, and I did my best, and she'd probably say I still did. I hope she'd say I did a good job, but also knowing like, man, I'm exhausted. Mm-hmm. And with that, then we started evaluating my job and stuff like that, and whether it was healthy and all that stuff, and how I was acting in it. But also, when you're kind of the person who takes pride in helping people, and like the affirmation you get from that, like me, then they're thinking, okay, me, why do I do what I do? With a kid, you're getting none of that. Like you're just pouring out and pouring out and pouring out. And then your wife is also pouring out and pouring out and pouring out. And you're trying to pour out into her and your kid, which you should be doing. Nothing wrong with it. But also trying to pour it to, okay, like tonight, we both need to crash and check. I just need to be able to sit there and say, I need a night. It's okay to sit there and say 9 o'clock. I just sit there and read. I need to go to bed.
Yeah.
And also, so that is being part of it. And also sitting there and saying, I don't need to have it all together.
Yeah.
It's really taught me to sit there and say, which I still don't like. I'm pushing against it, but I don't know everything. I don't know the next step to take in so many areas, which I wish I did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think the big thing about energy is for sure of like just being weary of taking care of yourself, not in the fact that like putting yourself first, but like in the fact that you need to have energy to expel. and
You can't
need-
pour from an empty glass.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
The
Yeah,
old
like
adage.
you can't
Old Chinese
you
proverb.
can't just burn yourself out through your work day
Yeah.
and come home and expect you can't at this point expect normally it was like, oh, Kaylee's got something planned for us for dinner, we can just pop on our favorite TV show, relax for the night. But no, it's like once my work day is done, like my time away from him, then it's like, okay, I only have this limited amount of hours in my evenings that I can then pour into my son, and I need to be energized for that and not just be burning the candle out for the end of the night. Yeah.
Let me jump in and ask a question. What is as you talk about going through your work day, because I think that's an experience that we all feel is like there's two ways to work. Maybe there's three. There's like a way to not work and act like you're working. But then the ways to actually work, there's a way to work where you don't think about it at the moment. You think that you're just being a good worker, but you're, like you guys talk about, you're expending a lot of mental energy in a way that whenever you get home, you're done, versus working in a way that leaves, like, what does it look like? What does it feel like to work in a way that leaves spare time and emotion and energy for your family?
I mean, I think for me, something I had to realize is like, don't have to do everything. That's something that's hard for me to do, is sit there and actually say no, especially when I want to do it and I know I can do it. And not to brag, but I probably can do it better than the person who's asking me if they can do it.
This guy.
Well, okay, just like reality, like, so my current position,
You had to see that joke coming. When
yeah,
you
I
said
did. The minute you said it,
Yeah.
I knew it was coming.
Just
But
go on. Go
my
past
current
it.
Position, I
Don't
basically
defend it. Just go past it because it was a
I
joke.
work across 3 different departments, so I know how a lot of different areas work. So I can. A lot of people come to me saying, "Hey, can I fix this? Can I do this quickly? Because I can." And they'll get the right answer most of the time, or at least like an answer we can keep moving with. But also saying, "Hey, not everything is my problem. Let me teach you to do it, and then move on."
Yeah.
Or just sit there and say, "This isn't an emergency for me." Like, I'm sorry. Like, you might think it's an emergency, but it's not. It can wait till tomorrow.
Yeah.
And trying to learn that, and also prioritize when I do and don't check email,
Yeah.
especially in the evenings.
That's the big thing.
So I usually check in the morning before I go to work, which I have like in a lot of time I do it now because that's helped. I don't like dwell on it as much.
I think the big thing that I've started to do, and I'm not sure if Kaylee's even noticed it at this point, but yeah, like with me, obviously I do international taxes. So we've got like people all over the world that are like, they're working at different
International.
times.
All over the
that
world.
are paying taxes
Well,
everywhere.
like as far as correspondence goes from
Yeah.
email,
I
like,
know that, yeah.
we've got people
Similar.
supporting us that are in different countries and
Yeah.
obviously different time zones. So
Yeah.
I've got my email, like when I go to bed or throughout the evening, like there's always stuff coming in and out.
Yeah.
That I either need to note for the next day or respond right away or whatever.
Yeah.
But I have definitely tried to make it a priority that like I'm blocking off the time that I specifically have to be out of the office on my calendar and making it transparent to my work that like, hey, I'm going to be out from this point to this point.
Yeah.
And that's just a clear expectation and something they have to be okay with. And then because basically after the work day, Lincoln at this point goes down to bed between 7:30 or 8. But I definitely prioritize it. Like, okay, once I get home and I have a chance to like get in comfy clothes and like I can, put down my work bag and everything like that, then really I try to set down my phone somewhere, like whether it's just up in my room or something like that, until I'm getting Lincoln past the point of going to bed. Because then that's literally like my hour and a half or 2 hours to make sure he has dinner, to make sure he's got we've got playtime together. I read him the bedtime stories. I do the bedtime routine. And then only at that point, after he's in bed and asleep and stuff, then can I maybe pick back my phone up and see like what else has come in.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's something you really have to do. And also sitting there saying, hey, one of the things that came up was like, hey, can you work later? I'm like, well, I'd rather work earlier. So I'm going to work earlier as much as possible.
Yeah.
But also sitting there saying, hey, my family comes first, guys.
Yeah.
And that might mean like, and I've told my boss, I was like, hey, like I'll check like I can work later on, but like my kid goes to bed by this time. If I need to work after that, I will. But like I'm gonna be home. It takes me this much time to get home, and I don't. Honestly, I told him like I honestly don't care about their notifications, like because I'm like leaving on. It's like I'm leaving early. I'm leaving on time.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna prioritize them, especially in this short time, because everyone says you never get this time back. And granted, like there are moments where I'm like, man, I wish you could take care of yourself. But also I sit there and say, man, I'm going to miss the times when he just wants to crawl into my lap and be held.
Yeah.
And I realized that in the moment, it's like, oh my gosh, can you please just give me a
few
break?
things.
But also sitting there saying like, man, I get to just carry you around.
Yeah.
So dwelling in that and enjoying it is
Like
also
the cool
top.
one of the coolest things now is that Lincoln has learned like he loves books.
Yeah.
And like the coolest thing is like when I come home and he sees me, picks up a book and can now walk it
Yeah, I'd
over to
love
me
that.
holding
That's
it
awesome.
and just hand it up to me and be like, hey, it's time for us to read now. And it's like, okay, like this is the point where I gotta, like he's the
Yeah.
priority. Yeah.
Well, and also gives your wife a break for a little bit as much
Yeah.
as possible.
And that's true too. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Cause that's something, I've heard other people talk about. And I didn't really realize that till my wife stayed at home all day and sitting there saying, man, and also prioritizing saying, hey, like there's some more nights I try to encourage her to do more in the evening. It isn't a ton, but like if you want to do something, do it. And
Like
we'll
something
figure it
fun,
out.
you mean?
Yeah, like
Not
just-
like do more.
No, but like,
Yeah.
like her mom and them went to the canvas, a cupcake and canvas night a few times, and she had to put the kid to bed, and it was rough.
Better
a
not
few
have been
times.
a wine and canvas
No,
night.
it's cupcakes, but
Sounds like trouble.
it'd be fine. Wine's fine. We love wine. Wine's good.
I agree.
I mean, we can all agree with that. But it's also trying to learn how to do that and take care of those kind of things.
Yeah. So it's taught you how there's still selfishness in you and how there are times like Jeremy, I thought something that you said about how it's teaching you to be okay with pouring out even when you're not getting thanks in return.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause most of the time you're not getting
Which I'm
thanks.
sure neither of you would say like you're good about that. And Jeremy, probably when that happens, it's not like you always have a great attitude,
Yeah.
right? But that's still a good lesson that God is hammering into you,
Yeah.
even if it's
Well, it comes down to why I'm really doing. I'm doing this out of like Christ-like service to love, like I've been loved, or is it
Yeah.
like I only doing these? Even like something. Face had a long day, so I'm gonna do the dishes. Am I
Yeah.
doing this just like to prove, like have a checkbox check saying I did something else today, or just to show her like I love her or not?
or am I doing it for
Well,
her
and
praise or for her?
Right.
It's
and
really
everything I do.
challenging because at least like in the beginning, you get no love in return or like anything poured into you in return
'Cause they
But
can't
yeah,
talk.
Like,
I'm
yeah.
giving a list for
But
Mike when he
like
turns
in the
18.
in the first year, like especially at this point, you see like Lincoln has just passed year 1 now, and you see that the love back for your efforts actually
You start
like
to see a
you
little
start
bit
to
of it
see it
peeking
manifest little by little.
Yeah.
In the point where like he wants to then come up to me and crawl onto my lap.
Right.
As soon as I come home, he walks towards me and wants me to pick him up.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And that's where the reward, like it comes little by little after the fact.
That's
yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are some things that it's changed about your marriage or taught you about marriage? That's probably a short list, right?
Huh.
Yeah, I mean, we were perfect before that, so yeah. No, okay.
We actually learned just
Yeah.
that we were the perfect couple
Yeah.
and that we had everything figured out.
I don't even know. I think I'm still learning a lot of it.
That's fine.
Like,
You can say you can say something you're still
I
learning.
think it's a lot of it, like going back to selfishness. I have my ideas of how I think things need to go, and I'm learning to be more spontaneous in that. Even something like Monday, someone they were doing a Veterans Day thing, so and I'm not great with spontaneity, especially when it comes to spending money.
Yeah.
Just because there's a lot going on, and financially, there's always something you put money to. But Faith is in the Guard, so they're doing. Hershey was doing 50% off from
AKA a
military.
veteran.
Yeah, so she got 50% off dinner. She's like, well, Faith, her best friend said she'd watch Micah. You want to get and.
Yeah.
I thought she meant that her and Faith are going to go to dinner. I'm like, yeah, go ahead and go. She's like, no, do we want to go? And I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Trying to embrace spontaneity and pour out because I know I'm not very good at that. And also, just after a long day, it's tough to not just veg out on the couch for either of us. Like just because we've both had very long days because Mike is up early. I'm usually up with him before she gets up, and then I'm a night out anyway. So
Yeah, I mean, I think it's even more of a challenge, like because you have a child, then that becomes both of your guys' number one priority. It becomes even more of a challenge to have any type of priorities for your spouse after that point, because obviously what we're talking about here is like, okay, we've got to take care of our workday. We've got to be energized to pour into our kids at that point, and then once our kids go to bed, we still have to be energized or have something left
For
at
our
that
spouse.
point for our spouse to pour into her. And that's where oftentimes I think we both still fall short of not just being so spent that there's nothing left after that.
Yeah. Or
and-
even just wanting to reserve whatever is left for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where once you've checked all the boxes, then that can kind of fall by the wayside. And it's nothing like there's, nothing, I guess, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like, it's nothing where like we are resenting each other for it at this point because we're both spent.
Yeah.
Because Lincoln is prioritizing so much of both of our times. But you definitely see the evidence of just like, we get him down to bed and it's, it's usually that we're winding down between 9:30 or 10 o'clock. And there's some nights where we're just both spent. We're like, we'd prefer to be in bed at 8 as soon as he's out.
Oh, we do that all the time.
Yeah. And at that point, like, there's no direct communication just between, like, for that day, you can look back and say, there's no direct communication just between you and I.
Yeah, other than just text
everything
or something.
everything today was through text. Everything today was running or getting the boy from one point to another or facilitating something to get him to bed. And then the day was over.
You kind of everything runs through the conduit of Lincoln.
Yeah.
And you're not really a couple outside of that, or like you're not people outside of that.
Yeah.
You're just communicating through him as a proxy. Yeah. And so you're not really connecting as people or.
Yeah. So like the other things of like investing in each other's days for like, Kaylee still works as well. And like hearing about what happened to her, what caused her personal struggles or what happened throughout her day, that kind of goes by the wayside quite a lot.
Yeah.
Because it's all just a priority of like, oh, did Lincoln have a good day? Did he eat great? Did all bodily functions accounted for? Like everything all good? So that's where it's just kind of interesting in that aspect where hopefully once we go, now that we're over the year one hurdle and Lincoln does become a little more sustained, like he's more self-sustaining every day now as far as building on new things and learning so much. Hopefully that's one thing we can continue to challenge ourselves on, that like we are still, having stuff left to pour into each other.
Yeah.
Faith made a joke the other day. She's like, you realize it's been like a year since we've had like a full night of sleep.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, just about.
In
Is he still
3
up
days.
in the middle of the night?
Well, so he got sick, and then when he got sick, that kind of backtracked some things because you know how that works. Then he got better, and they got sick again, so we had to wean him. We're weaning him back off night feedings right now. But then he's been sick a little bit. Like, well, between all the other kids were around getting sick and getting better and getting sick, and the weather being it is what it is.
Yeah.
He's fine. Like, he's okay.
Yeah.
But he's
I
been
feel
kind
like
of
for like
grumpy.
the
He's going
last
through
2
like a
weeks,
leap or
everybody's
something,
been
they
getting
say.
sick.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a little bit, yeah. But even then, he'd still be up at least once a night
Oh,
or
man.
something. And normally, I try to take it
Has
before.
it gotten any easier to get up in the middle of the night when you're tired and the child is crying or something and you really just want your wife to take care of it? Has it gotten any easier for you to take care of it for yourself? Or has that been, because I feel like looking ahead, I feel like that'd be a struggle for me. Or just like one of the ways that selfishness gets played out. So does it get any easier after a year, or is it any easier to get up and?
So. I think it was easier in the beginning.
Yeah, that's
honestly.
all. That's all. Lincoln is a
couldn't do
great
anything.
sleeper. So like we've been through the night. The only time that
Yeah.
Whatever
like,
that thing is, though, like pick a quote unquote chore.
Poopy diaper.
like the poopy
Like,
diaper.
yeah, whatever. Well, that's not a huge inconvenience.
Lincoln-
but something like sleep or
sometimes
something.
you
Lincoln
better
has some
believe it.
rank
Yeah.
diapers. Let me tell you.
You get on your hands and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, have you seen any change in that? Like that kind of stuff, like getting easier or more difficult as time goes on?
I mean, you get better at facilitating it with time.
Yeah.
Just like how to expedite the process a little easier. But other than, I don't know. I mean,
Do you still face the battle of just like, I just want my wife to do it?
I think. Well, everything. I think I don't know. This might sound really weird or bad. I don't know.
Just go for it.
But I think every chore in general becomes more of like am I going to do this one or are you?
Yeah.
And also having for me, not having the mental checklist of saying, okay, I've done X amount of things today.
Versus
Yeah,
your wife
and that's
doing
something in
amount.
general what you do. Even at work, I have like
Yeah.
that problem. But I get exasperates and that kind of thing. But also at night, like in the beginning, I would have loved to do it, but I couldn't do anything because he was breastfeeding, so I can't really fix anything with that. Especially when we're trying to teach him to do it really well.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, I've been pretty good about night stuff. I've never really had any issue getting up and moving. If I hear it, I have no problem.
Yeah.
I've really had an issue with that. It's more just like the other stuff that revolves around. It's more of a difficulty for me.
Yeah. It's definitely a struggle. Just if it goes back to kind of the selfishness that's still in you, but it's definitely a challenge to not like go about the mental checklist over the first year with your kid.
Yeah.
Of like, if your wife and you are like kind of at the same point, you think back and you're just like, well, today I made the bottles, I did the bath time, I did, I changed the diapers and all that. And then like she's like having a moment to sit on the couch or something like that, and a poopy diaper
And you're
comes
like,
up,
oh, must be
and
nice.
it's like, oh well, this next poopy diaper's got to be you then.
Yeah.
And that, that's just the challenge, I think, and that just comes down to selfishness again.
Yeah.
That's still rooted in there.
I think I even see that at play now with Rachel and I. Like it's super easy to fall into that.
Like you guys have a house now, so like you have responsibilities for that
More than an
can be
apartment.
divided up.
Yeah, and you just you go through life and there's always something to keep score about.
Yeah.
And it's just a pride thing. It's just pride that's like, I deserve to be recognized for what I did, and I deserve to be served. So whenever I serve you, I really deserve you to repay me.
And
that's kind of the attitude that's at play
so
there.
easy with a newborn or a baby because everything is such a routine. Like you have to get into a set routine with them, and you know what that day is going to call for
And
on their
almost
behalf.
every day has the same number of
Yeah.
chores.
Well, it's like eat, sleep, poop, bath, change, like all those things have to happen every single day. And so that's where it
so
just,
when you do it 2 days in a row, you're like, hey, what's going on
yeah,
here?
you're like,
Well, and also sitting back to like one thing I was talking about learning earlier, like why do you love the people? Do you love the people because of what they do or because of just who they are?
Yeah.
yeah.
Or what
And
they do
that's-
for you.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, am I really loving Faith or Micah because they're doing something for me, like affirmation or anything, or chores or fill in the blank, or do I really love them because they just are God's creation and a gift?
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know. That's something going back. I just wrapping my whole thing around what I said earlier.
Yeah.
Playing through, I realize more and more. It's like, man, maybe I'm not as loving as I thought I was, or patient as I thought I was, or
Yeah.
as self-controlled as I thought I was. I think that's something playing more and more. It's like, man, I have a shorter fuse than I thought I did. I am not as far along as I thought I was, and I can see it playing out more and more recently.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Hopefully, I'm getting better, and I'm trying to be better. By God's
yeah,
grace,
You'll
can-
never be in a better position to get better than when you realize it.
yeah.
And it's good that you realize it, right? Like we start growing when we recognize our need to grow. Well, sorry. I should say we can only start growing when we recognize our need to grow. We can either get angry and bitter and not grow and refuse to do it, or we can say, man, I'm not as far along as I thought. And I do need more grace than I thought, and God's going to give it to me, and I want to grow. But
And that's something especially you just have to ask for every single day.
yeah,
Because like even
His
if,
mercy is new every morning, right?
as
That's
an
when you need
ongoing
it.
process, like your one day, you might think you had things pretty much in order, but then the next day, routines can get out of whack with a baby and stuff like that, and you are right back to your short fuse or whatever, and it's
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's like the next day, like, oh, I did really good yesterday. It's like one
Yeah.
dumb thing, like,
Doesn't
oh
matter.
my gosh, I can't believe that just happened.
You're like, yesterday was perfect, and then your baby's like, I don't care. Today's gonna stink.
Today,
now you're gonna get it,
Now
Daddy.
you're gonna get
I
it,
was
Bobby.
saving up for today.
Yeah, didn't you know? Today was the worst day.
You can almost
Mom's
tell.
a drill.
Side note, you can tell pretty quickly. I don't know about with Micah, but with Lincoln, like you can tell pretty much upon wake up in the morning whether it's going to be a good day or not.
You just know.
Yeah, I guess he's been so in the morning now. Going back to like, so in the morning, I usually wake up before I leave for work, so I'll be getting ready and stuff. Well, I try to get a little bit ready before, but like he actually will stand in the bed and like if I'm trying to button my shirt, he'll actually like grab the shirt so I can't button it.
It's funny.
The other day he was pouting, like he was laying with his head and like would look up and like lay his head back down whenever I'd look over. So those kind of things like,
funny.
man, like you're trying to manipulate me already.
You're gonna
kid.
be a
Stay home
brat.
from work.
You're
Yeah.
gonna be a brat, man.
Yeah.
It's all cute now.
Yeah,
But
it's cute
when he's 16
now.
and does it, he's gonna get a big whooping.
Yeah.
It's such a difference when like Lincoln will like when he wakes up, like once we're getting ready in the morning and like you go and peek through his room and you say good morning and he's just got that bright shining smile, like he just had a great night's sleep and like you're just like, okay, like happy boy today. And then like there's times where like he wakes up fussy and already crying. And he's like sitting himself up and like you come to look at it and he just looks at you totally pissed
He's
off.
like, I'm so mad
and,
right
and
now.
I'm like, Lincoln,
Can't believe you waited this long.
You were the one that woke up. Like,
you
yes,
know, you left me in this room all night.
I would have let you sleep
well,
so much
that's
longer.
what's so
Yeah.
funny is like we weren't the ones to wake you up. So like,
Your fault.
If
This
you
is
aren't-
your fault.
Yeah, if you aren't ready to be awake, go back to sleep. Like,
Hang out in your crib. You're not
Yeah.
going anywhere.
Okay, first thing, pal.
Yeah.
Your fault. I
but
just
yeah,
want to be clear.
it's so funny, and you can just tell it's like, okay, it's probably going to be a fussy day.
That's funny.
Like,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
we can do that.
Well, that's
Well,
good,
and then
man.
I come back to, I don't know, the other day I was reading Psalms. I read through Psalm 127 a lot. And it says, and so the beginning it talks about like the Lord building the house. And then like the other one's like, blessed is the one who fills her quiver with kids, like their
Yeah.
heritage and a blessing from the Lord.
Yeah.
And I don't know, a lot of society doesn't agree with that. But as we're talking about kids, I think we should remember that they're
It's a
huge
blessing.
blessing.
Yeah, man. One of
big
my
dime.
one of my favorite comments that I've ever heard about that verse is that this is a little bit tangential to what we're talking about, but like about how it talks about arrows, kids
Yeah.
being arrows, and how arrows are made to be fired. And so as a parent, your job is to like
I throw a mic everywhere.
as a parent as a
Launch
parent
your kid.
your job is to not just to like raise a nice like block, a wooden block, but you're raising something and then aiming it with a purpose to go into the world. And like you want to prepare that arrow because the arrow goes out on a mission, right? It goes where you aim it.
Yeah.
And then that whole the analogy was just like, where are you aiming your kids? And like, do you recognize the cool calling that you've been given that you're aiming your kids somewhere?
Well,
even
and-
from when they're 1 year old,
Yeah.
you're aiming them somewhere
And
every day of their
are
life.
you sharpening your kid as well?
Are you sharpening?
Because like
Yeah, you
an
need a sharp
arrow that
arrow.
has a
Yeah.
dull tip or whatever isn't going to be
Are you
effective
giving
at all.
them what
Not-
they
not
need to be
sticking.
successful and to know Christ and to follow him? So
Man, analogies.
analogies,
Metaphors
but,
and scriptures.
You know what, guys? I would say I think we did a good job, but I think you did a good job because I didn't do much during
'Cause
this
I-
episode.
'cause
I didn't want to say
haven't-
this, but we definitely carried this episode.
That's right.
Because
Well,
I
you are the
haven't
only
messed up a kid yet.
you are the only ones with kids.
See if the
so
second one's turn out like the first
Yeah,
one.
we'll do this
Exactly.
at 2 years old, and we'll see how
That's
if
the
I've
plan.
if I've messed up Lincoln yet.
that's the plan. Is just to keep filling space between our yearly years of marriage and years of having a kid
The rest of the
episodes.
episodes for filling space.
It's honestly true, guys. This is really just a marriage and parenting thing, but we just do that once a year.
Well,
so,
that's-
The rest is all filler.
That's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
So
but Jeremy's got a recommendation for us, right, Jeremy?
I really.
You look surprised, but
I didn't know you were gonna.
Yeah.
you told me you would have this.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, I've been really enjoying the Dwell Bible app.
I'm so unprepared.
No, but it's been really great. So I highly recommend the Dwell Bible app. It's been really good for commutes. It has some cool features.
It's a really fancy audio Bible
Yeah.
app.
So you can put music to it, different voices. You can actually add time for reflection, which is kind of nice. It's like pauses. And the Indelible Grace album, any of their albums,
Yeah,
highly
man.
recommend them.
I highly recommend. I'll just say their live one. They have a live one. That
Yeah.
one's good.
Yep, they're good.
And the reason I recommended that one is because I forgot what the other one was called. But and
Speaking of asking the Lord to grow,
that's right.
find that hymn.
That is a good hymn. I asked the Lord to grow.
I asked the Lord that I might grow.
But
Andrew,
until next time,
thanks.
thanks for talking about parenting, guys.
You're a
You're
great
welcome.
dad.
All right.
Jeremy, you're pretty good too.
No, I was fishing for compliments.
Happy early birthday to Micah, or when this comes out.
Yeah.
Happy
So-
current birthday to Micah.
Current
Happy
birthday.
1-year-old kiddo.
There
Love
we
you,
go.
man.
See you guys.
See you next time.
Yeah, but I didn't
All
think
right,
it was
ladies
all.
and gentlemen.
Man,
I didn't think it was all that good.
what are you talking about? Why
I
don't
think
you
it's
love
good.
it?
Dave, I'm just gonna keep talking.
Okay.
Can't cut me off.